architecture has any power over people? Anyone? So none of you think architecture can influence anyone? We can't influence people.
We can. We actually have a lot. Architecture has a lot of power because a whole city, a whole place can be defined by the architecture of it. It can be either fancy. It can be defined as anything, only on the basis of the architecture.
So I feel that architecture can evoke emotions, and architecture is not about map or zoning. It's more about that feeling you get when you wake up from bed and you're like trying to read, you want to finish your homework but you're feeling lethargic, or that feeling you get when you're in the library and you have to keep quiet, that oppressive feeling that you get. Or it could be that feeling you get when you're sitting outside of the classroom talking to your friends and chatting, that joy that you get when we give you some space to breathe. So that's the power of architecture. Another question I want to ask is, does anyone think we shouldn't learn about architecture from outside of India? Is there any relevance of learning architecture from global architecture? Does anyone feel like we shouldn't learn, we should just focus on Indian architecture? Can anyone tell me why they feel that? Why shouldn't we just focus on India? Like, we are designing in India, why should we look at other countries?
Ma'am, it's always better to know more and see more. So, if I get an option to go and see what's happening outside my country and what better can I do for my country, I think that is the point of going out.
Also, we just do what's happening in other parts of the world. Just
Yeah.
going on doing what's happening here and what's relevant here, because what's relevant anyway.
Exactly. So when we look at other people, when knowledge is shared, it's kind of like opening the window and letting the fresh breeze come in. You kind of get out of that inbreeding of ideas and are able to innovate on, maybe you can't copy the same things, but maybe you can innovate new answers to it. So I don't want to give you another lecture. I'm pretty sure you get that every single week. So I rather want to share with you my journey through what I learned after I left these campus walls. So my journey starts from me being a novice in not knowing anything about Japan, and then becoming a chopstick-wielding architect who learned the ways of Japanese architecture by learning like Daniel Reed, wax on, wax off. So really physically learning architecture in Japan. So I started my journey in an attic room in a traditional Japanese house where I didn't have a lot of comforts, but the house was very warm and there was a lot of character in that space. And I was living alone in this big house and I got to explore Kyoto a lot. And when I was exploring Kyoto, I found a lot of quirks that I didn't see in India, which were like, in public spaces, you don't have trash cans and you don't lock your doors at night, you leave them unlocked, and your manhole covers tell the story of your city. Like, this city is famous for fish food, or that there are no cows or animals roaming the street, only people. So this was a bit of a cultural shock, and while I was exploring, I happened upon Tadao Ando's Garden of Fine Arts, and it takes you through an experience, but what I focused on when I first went there was the architecture and the building construction. How was everything framed? How did Tadao do this, like make a bridge on top of a waterfall? How did he fix up all those things? But what I forgot, which was the most important thing, that when you go to see architecture, if you get too caught up in your brain and you start thinking BC, building construction, abhi dekhna hai, ye dekhna hai, or I'm a designer, I need to see what the design intent is. You forget what actually you're supposed to do. You're supposed to feel the architecture. You're supposed to experience it as a public person would. You're not supposed to go as a designer. That is an afterthought that you should do afterwards. If you have to go to the pine to learn from the pine, but if you have preconceived notions, you will impose yourself on the thing. And this happened to me when I first started working in Japan. Um, I started a new project and they asked me to draw a 3D model of it. So the first thing I did was make a boundary wall. And my boss came up to me and he was like, "Why are you making a boundary wall? I didn't ask you that." I was like, "How do we mark our plot? This is how we do it, right?" He's like, "Why would you want to do that? I have the paperwork to show that this plot is mine. Why do I need to put a boundary wall?" And I saw this in Taiwan, I saw this in Korea, I saw this in Japan. People don't, this conceived notion that we have in India that the first thing we need to do is make a boundary wall, this is not there all over the world. It's not a universal concept. It's when I was going through this experience, so my boss said that let go of all of your previous concepts and misconceptions that you might have. They might be valid in India, but you're working globally now. And as architecture moves more globally and we start working internationally as well, we can't have the same preconceived notions. We can put forward these ideas, but we shouldn't impose these ideas on people. So this time I really experienced the building rather than just seeing it. So when I was walking through it, I could see different ways which the art was supposed to be viewed. And as I was walking through, the noise of the street got cancelled out by the sounds of the waterfalls and the way the landscape. So this is the botanical garden in front, and as like the seasons change, the trees start changing their leaves, and so it's like an ever-changing art piece kind of. And you can, as you're walking through, you see different views of the art. So the art is never appreciated just from looking at it face first. You can look at it from the top, from the bottom, from the side, and that's basically how you get to experience the art. So after this, my boss gave me a book, which he said that if you really want to learn about Japanese architecture, if you want to start designing in Japan, you need to know the concept of Wabi. And he said that everything in Japan is based on Wabi. And Wabi-Sabi is this concept of embracing impermanence and imperfection in your life. And so we traditionally value beauty in architecture with symmetry and like ideal proportions and everything. But in Japan, everyone kind of understands that there are seasons and seasons come and go. So there's festivals organized around it. So there's a national holiday which celebrates Marine Day when the summer comes and you can finally go into the beach, or Hanami, which is the sakura blooming season where families come out for 1 week in a whole year. These sakura blossoms bloom and everyone comes out for the picnic, and generally like the trees for the whole year are just green and they wither away, but only for 1 year they bloom, but they're planted everywhere in Japan because that 1 week is so crucial to them because it shows that the summer has come and the summer is going. So this kind of impermanence is what Wabi-Sabi is. So it's kind of ingrained in their culture, and it kind of bleeds over into architecture as well, where Wabi-Sabi, we perceive beauty in flawlessness and perfection and ideal proportions, but Japan views beauty in the aging process and the beauty that comes out from this kind of long haul view of architecture. The things that are more beautiful are the things that are aged and have some kind of wear and tear, which tells a story of where it's been and where it's going. So the next part of my journey was I went to a traditional Japanese firm where they started to, Wabi-Sabi is just a very base concept, which is not really even talked about. When foreigners like me come, that's when they brush up on what Wabi-Sabi is, because this is innate in their architecture. What they really focus on is designing with the client rather than for the client. So we don't want to just design for them. We want to design with. When we design with the clients, we design with their lifespan in mind. So how do we make homes healthier? What can we learn from Japan, and how can we make them applicable into our architecture? I could talk about ventilation methods like getting clean air in, or I could talk about like how they change the built envelope. As the seasons change, they take out these glass doors and put in these thatched screens. Or I could talk about this rise in hermits inside their homes. They never want to leave their house, they have all the comforts. But what I want to focus more on is the two aspects of Wabi-Sabi, which kind of manifest themselves in architecture. It's the art of mindfulness, where you feel the changes in season while you're inside the architecture. This could be through various ways. And these are some of the projects that my firm was part of, where this house allows the people of the city to use the house itself as a gateway between two lanes. So this is a shortcut between a house, the street in the front and the street in the back. You can just walk on through. So as like there are celebrations or anything, everyone can feel like the people who are living inside can see and feel what's happening in the cities. They feel a part of it. And this house allows the children to play in their front court instead of on the street. So they're safe from cars and everything. And the parents can just keep watch from the balcony. And the concept of Engawa, this is a very traditional space in Japan, which is like a living room under the sky, under the blue sky. And people use it like as their veranda, as anything, like it's a gateway into their garden. And which this concept can be converted into like this dentist houses where patients sit and they can just enjoy the view of the garden outside, or like this garden inside the home, where the people, when they're sitting inside, they can see the trees just changing seasons as they change the leaves. And below this engawa, you can just sit and watch the people walk by. So there's a lot of ways that we can incorporate this seasonal change. It doesn't have to be like the traditional method of having an engawa, having this or that. We can innovate on new ways. It's just a way for making the people mindful of the here and now. And another technique that you can use is creating mystique and incorporating nature. So what nowadays happens is that we flood our rooms with light. Like every single space is evenly lit. But in Japan, traditionally, there is a variance in degrees of shadow. Everything isn't clearly seen because the things that are not seen, that's where the beauty lies. The more you see, the less you think. Because we are dismissive of everything. If we can see everything at one go, we kind of make it a background noise. But when there's degrees of shade and degrees of shadows, we can kind of fill in the blanks and let our imagination fill in what that space looks like. And this is the concept of yin and yang, bright and light. The shock that the system gets when you go from a very brightly lit outside to a dim interior. So the grandeur of the scene that you see is softened by the haze that hangs over the mountains. So the things that you are not able to see because of these clouds leads your imagination to imagine much more than what the reality might have been. So these concepts can be innovative in a lot of different ways. And whereas like architecture like this, where you can clearly see what lies beyond, kind of as soon as you enter into that space, you slowly dismiss all of the objects that are inside of it. Where just like the streets, if it's a straight street, you kind of get bored. But if it's like a meandering street, there's like the mystery of what's next. And this mystery and this gateway of just showing just enough that you want to walk further is what carries forward in the exterior as well as the interior. So these doors are actually acting as picture frames to kind of see what is beyond. And you you can innovate this concept in different ways. Like these walkways on above don't let you see everything that's happening, like the private spaces up above. And so this was my journey from a novice to a chopstick wielding architect. But what I gained from this journey was that I felt that architecture started talking about sustainability very late. And now I think we are undervaluing a thing that's happening in society as well, that there's a rise in stress, there's a rise in anxiety in people, and maybe it's time we have a conversation about what architecture can do for this. I don't know if it's a conversation that we architects need to have about the mental health of our the people that we design for, but maybe it might be too late. Like we did it with sustainability. Like it might be too late that when we become wise, it's become too irreversible in the world. So maybe it's now time to think about what the power of architecture really is. So that's my presentation. Wow. I want to first ask, what do you think about this topic of mental health in designing homes? Is this a conversation we need to have?
Yes.
Yes.
I think more than homes, offices.
Offices, because we are spending a lot of time indoors now, right?
I think in all the institutions we need
Yeah.
to talk about the mental health of the user, of the client.
Yeah. Is there any question that anyone wants to ask? Yeah.
Why only Japan?
I started Japan because I wanted to learn about disaster management, but I ended up learning a lot more. So I felt like this is a topic that I wanted to start off with this topic because I think this is something that people need to kind of wake up to. That's why I wanted to do this topic, but there's a lot you can learn about just one thing. Anything else? So ornamentation in itself is not bad, because in Japan, if you look at the temple architecture, it's very ornamented. But the thing is that it's layers, right? So nothing is as it seems. Like if at first go, you don't see everything, and that's the beauty of it. But in India as well, like we look at temple architecture, we slowly go through phases and we get into it. But as the modernist movement came into being, we started opening this open floor plan and everything. So we opened everything and we thought it looks beautiful. It does look beautiful, right? Like we design everything clean, crisp, and that's a concept of beauty. This is just a different concept of beauty, which relies on understanding that nothing is perfect actually. If you try to design something perfect, in the next 5 years, there's like some mold or something growing, and we start feeling really bad about our architecture. But if you look at Tadarando's architecture, it shows the signs of age. Like the concrete isn't pristine, and he doesn't want it to be pristine. He wants the things to be shown. He wants the experience. Like I designed this 50 years ago, and it should look like it's 50 years, not like it's new. So I don't think ornamentation and anything like that is bad. I think we need to move a little bit beyond just facade design and just like designing in general, like just things. We need to think about consciously what we are designing and why. So that's why I feel like we need to talk to our clients about issues first, like what do they want? We want to design with them, not just for them. And that's kind of what we're taught in class. Like we're given a brief and we're designing just for it. Like we're designing with the brief. We don't really have a client. So when we go out into the real world and we deal with clients, their minds change, their moods change, and the briefs change. And that's when we're like, you need to get paid more. They change their mind all the time. Like, it's because people change, and that's how it is. But if you're designing with them, you understand that this change is about to come because you can anticipate it. People grow. So architecture should grow with them. Anything else?
Japanese as even in general, if we decide to do architecture, they have always said that they're very much attached to the roots. They're not ready to keep aside their
by not having an ego actually. When you're working for someone, you can't have an ego, but when you're working with someone, you don't have that problem. So when I was working for a company, I have to follow their rules, and you're in a different country, you have to follow their thought processes and the way they design. In Japan, design is very much a physical experience. What we do is we design, we write, we draw. In Japan, we make with our hands 100 models, 150 models, and we go through the iterations with our hands. I kind of felt that we could have done it in maybe a digital method instead of a physical method. So that kind of clashes come when you go to different countries. There's like different clashes you're gonna get. But if I had the ego like, no, I'm not gonna make physical models. Why should I? You can't work internationally with that.